Dorothy Simmons was 63 years old and exhausted in a way that sleep never fixed. Not tired from doing too much. Tired from the inside. The kind of tired that sits behind your eyes and slows your thinking and makes the simplest decisions feel heavier than they should. She had been a high school principal for 31 years in Charlotte, North Carolina, a woman who had run entire school systems on 4 hours of sleep and sheer will, and now, 3 years into retirement, she could not explain why she felt worse than she ever had when she was working. She was doing everything right. Everything the magazine said. Everything her doctor nodded at approvingly during her annual checkup. She was taking her supplements. Walking 30 minutes every morning. Eating salads. Drinking green smoothies from the blender her daughter gave her for Christmas. Cutting out red meat. Sleeping 8 hours. And she felt terrible. Her digestion had been a quiet disaster for years, bloating that arrived reliably after every meal regardless of what she ate, bowel movements that were never quite right, a heaviness in her abdomen that she had simply accepted as the cost of getting older. Her joints ached in the mornings in a way that took an hour to shake off. Her energy crashed every afternoon between 2 and 3 with a predictability she had learned to schedule around. Her sleep, despite its 8-hour length, left her unrefreshed. Her doctor ran the panels. Everything came back normal. Normal was the word she had been hearing for 3 years while feeling anything but. Then Dorothy's college roommate, a woman named Jean who had spent 20 years living in Japan and studying Eastern medicine before returning to the States, came to visit for a week. Jean watched Dorothy move through her morning routine on the first day. The cold smoothie pulled from the refrigerator and consumed standing at the kitchen counter. The immediate movement after waking. The large glass of ice water with her supplements. The salad at lunch eaten while scrolling her phone. Jean said nothing until the afternoon. Then she sat Dorothy down at the kitchen table and said, "I want to show you a completely different way of thinking about what your body needs. Not a different diet. A different framework." Dorothy listened. Skeptically at first. Then with the growing attention of someone who has tried everything the conventional system offered and is finally hearing something that sounds like it might actually explain what has been happening. What Jean shared with her that afternoon, and what Dorothy spent the following 6 months practicing, adjusting, and refining, is what this video is about. Not a program. Not a supplement stack. A framework. An entirely different way of understanding what the body is asking for and why the habits most Western wellness culture promotes are working against the biology of a body over 60 rather than with it. And if this channel is where you want to keep getting information that goes beyond the standard wellness advice and into what actually works for the body you are living in right now, subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. Every week we deliver exactly this. Now let us get into it. Habit 1: Warm water first, cold water never again in the morning. The first thing Dorothy changed was also the most confrontational, to her blender, and to the entire wellness culture she had been immersed in for the previous decade. She stopped the cold smoothies. She stopped the ice water. She stopped starting her day with anything cold. The reasoning is direct and physiologically sound regardless of which framework you approach it from. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep your digestive system is in a quiet resting state. Consuming cold liquid on an empty stomach at that moment does not wake up digestion, it shocks it. It constricts the blood vessels surrounding the digestive organs, reduces gut motility, and slows the enzymatic activity that allows food to be properly broken down and absorbed. Western physiology supports this fully. Warm fluids in the morning support gut motility and increase circulation to the digestive organs. Cold fluids trigger a mild stress response in the gastrointestinal tract that reduces its functional efficiency at exactly the moment you are asking it to process the first inputs of the day. Dorothy replaced her cold smoothie with one simple thing. A mug of warm water, sometimes with a squeeze of lemon, sometimes with a thin slice of fresh ginger when her digestion felt particularly sluggish. Consumed slowly. Standing still. Before anything else. Within 2 weeks her morning bloating had reduced by what she described as 70%. Within a month the digestive heaviness she had carried for years was largely gone. Her bowel movements, irregular and unsatisfying for as long as she could remember, normalized in a way that no probiotic or dietary elimination had ever achieved. She told Jean on the phone, "I cannot believe that something this simple was the problem the whole time." Jean said, "It was not just the temperature. It was everything the cold water represented, the rushing, the stimulation, the assault on a system that needed gentleness. The warm water was the first signal you gave your body that the day was allowed to start slowly. Start with warm water. Every morning. Before coffee. Before supplements. Before anything cold. Give your digestive system the signal that it is safe to begin rather than the shock that puts it immediately on the defensive." Habit 2. Dry your hair before going outside or going to bed. This sounds almost too small to mention. Dorothy laughed when Jean brought it up. Then she stopped laughing when Jean explained the mechanism. Going outside with wet hair, or going to bed with wet hair, allows rapid heat loss from the scalp. The head is one of the primary areas through which the body regulates core temperature. When the scalp is wet and exposed to cool air or a cool pillow, the body registers a temperature drop that triggers a mild stress response. Blood vessels near the scalp surface constrict. The body redirects energy toward temperature regulation rather than the repair and rest processes it should be engaged in. Over time and with repetition, this pattern contributes to chronic neck tension, morning headaches, and the general sense of having slept without having truly recovered. Dorothy had been going to bed with damp hair for most of her adult life. She stopped. Within 10 days she reported waking with a noticeably clearer head and less of the neck stiffness that had become her standard morning greeting to herself. Dry your hair. Completely. Before sleep. Before stepping outside. A small habit with a disproportionate return. Habit 3. Eat warm cooked foods, especially when energy is low. Dorothy's salad habit ended gradually over the first 3 months. Not because she was told to abandon vegetables, but because she began to understand what cold raw food was actually asking of her digestive system. Raw vegetables require significantly more digestive energy to break down than cooked ones. The cellular walls of raw plant matter are largely intact and the enzymatic and mechanical work required to process them is considerable. For a digestive system that is already compromised, already dealing with reduced enzymatic output, reduced gut motility, and the accumulated stress of years of inadequate recovery, adding the demand of large raw salads is like asking an engine running on low fuel to tow something uphill. Cooked foods, soups, stews, roasted vegetables, slow-cooked grains, are partially broken down by the cooking process itself. The digestive system receives them in a form it can process with significantly less effort. More of the nutritional content is absorbed rather than passing through. The warmth of the food itself supports gut motility and circulation to the digestive organs. Dorothy began making a simple vegetable soup every Sunday that she ate through the week. She started having congee, a slow-cooked rice porridge, for breakfast several mornings a week. She added warming spices like ginger, turmeric, and cinnamon to everything she cooked. She stopped reaching for the salad as the default healthy choice and started asking instead what her digestive system was actually equipped to handle that day. She told Jean 3 months in, "I am eating more food than I have in years and I feel lighter than I have in years. That makes no logical sense to me, but I am not arguing with it." When you are tired, cold, or depleted, eat warm. Your digestive system is telling you something when it struggles with raw food. Listening to it is not weakness. It is intelligence. Habit 4. Slow down, chew more, eat without screens. Digestion begins in the mouth. Not in the stomach. Not in the small intestine. In the mouth, with saliva, with chewing, with the mechanical breakdown of food into particles the rest of the digestive system can process. Most adults are eating while distracted. While scrolling. While watching. While working. While managing the ongoing mental load of a busy life. In that state the body is not in a parasympathetic, rest and digest, mode. It is in a sympathetic, manage and survive, mode. And in sympathetic mode digestion is actively deprioritized. Blood flow to the digestive organs is reduced. Enzyme secretion is reduced. Gut motility slows. You can eat the most nutritious food in the world and absorb a fraction of its value if your nervous system is in survival mode while you eat it. Dorothy made one rule. 1 meal per day eaten without a phone or screen. Sitting down. Looking at the food. Chewing each bite more than felt necessary. Paying attention to the flavors and textures in a way that felt almost uncomfortably slow at first and then, within 2 weeks, began to feel like the most restoring part of her day. Her portion satisfaction improved immediately. She was reaching for the afternoon snack she had eaten compulsively for years less and less often. Her digestion after meals became calmer. The post-meal bloating that had defined her relationship with food for years almost disappeared. Slow down at the table. Your digestive system is not waiting for more food. It is waiting for your nervous system to confirm that it is safe to digest what you have already given it. Habit 5. Incorporate herbal teas, broths, and warming elixirs. Jean had grown up with a grandmother who was always boiling something. There was always something steaming on the stove, a broth, a tea, an elixir of ginger and dates and goji berries that smelled like warmth itself. Dorothy had grown up with coffee. And then more coffee. The shift to herbal teas and warming broths was the habit Dorothy adopted most slowly and defended most passionately once she had. Not because of any single dramatic result but because of the cumulative and daily effect of consuming warm medicinal liquids throughout the day rather than repeatedly stimulating and depleting her adrenals with caffeine. She started simply. Ginger tea in the morning after her warm water. A bone broth mid-afternoon instead of the coffee she had been using to manage her 2 o'clock crash. A chamomile and licorice root tea in the evening. She added goji berries to her morning oats. She made a weekly pot of simple vegetable and bone broth soup that she consumed throughout the week. The afternoon crash, the 2 to 3 o'clock energy collapse she had been managing with caffeine for 30 years, disappeared within 3 weeks. Not reduced. Gone. Replaced by a steady, undramatic energy that carried her through the afternoon without the spike and drop cycle she had accepted as her normal. She had not changed her nutrition dramatically. She had changed the temperature and the quality of what she was consuming and removed the caffeine that was masking her body's signals rather than addressing them. Warm liquids throughout the day. Herbal teas with intention. Broths that nourish rather than stimulate. This is not a wellness trend. It is the most consistent practice across the longest-lived cultures on the planet. Habit 6. Honor the sleep window. Be horizontal before 11. You do not have to be asleep by 11. But you need to be moving towards sleep, away from screens, in a darkening environment, allowing your nervous system to begin its descent, before 11 o'clock. The hours between 11 at night and 1 in the morning correspond to the peak activity period of the liver, the organ most responsible for processing the biochemical residue of the day's stress, regulating hormones, and initiating cellular repair. When you are consistently awake and stimulated through this window, you are missing the repair cycle that your body is designed to run during it. Dorothy had been a late-night person her entire adult life. 11, 12, sometimes 1 in the morning. It had felt productive. The house quiet, the demands of the day finished, the first moment of genuine autonomy in 18 hours. She moved her wind down to 10. Screens off. Warm tea. Feet in warm water. Gentle reading in low light. In bed by 10:30. Asleep by 11. Within 2 weeks she reported waking at 6 in the morning with an alertness she had not experienced since her 30s. Not from more hours of sleep, she was sleeping the same number of hours she had always slept. From better timed sleep. From being in the repair window when the repair cycle ran rather than sitting in front of a screen while it ran without her. The timing of sleep matters as much as the length of sleep. Being horizontal before 11 is not a sacrifice. After 60 it is one of the most significant investments in recovery you can make. Habit 7. Balance intense movement with gentle flowing movement. Dorothy had been walking 30 minutes every morning. She was proud of this. It was disciplined and consistent and her doctor approved. But it was the only movement she was doing and it was always the same pace, same route, same intensity, same demand on the same systems. What her body was missing was the other kind of movement. The gentle, slow, deliberate movement that does not spike cortisol but actively supports its regulation. The movement that increases circulation without draining reserves. The movement that calms the nervous system rather than stimulating it. She added 20 minutes of gentle stretching 3 mornings a week. She began a simple Tai Chi video for beginners, 15 minutes, slow and deliberate, on 2 afternoons. She started what she called her evening walk, a slow 10-minute walk around the block after dinner that she did not count as exercise but that became her most anticipated part of the day. Within a month her joint stiffness had reduced significantly. Her sleep quality improved further. The background anxiety that had been her constant companion since retirement began to settle in a way that felt structural rather than circumstantial. Your body after 60 needs both kinds of movement. The kind that builds strength and the kind that restores flow. Doing only one is like breathing in without breathing out. The restoration is not optional. It is half of the system. 6 months after Jean's visit, Dorothy went for her annual checkup. Her doctor reviewed her labs. Her inflammatory markers had dropped significantly. Her fasting glucose had improved. Her blood pressure, which had been creeping toward the threshold for medication, had returned to a comfortable range. Her cholesterol panel had shifted in a direction her doctor called encouraging. Her doctor asked what she had changed. She said, "I stopped trying to optimize my health and started trying to listen to my body. I drank warm water. I ate warm food. I slept on time. I walked after meals. I stopped fighting my own signals." Her doctor paused and wrote something down. Then he looked up and said, "Whatever you are doing, keep doing it." What Dorothy had discovered, and what took 6 months of daily practice to fully internalize, is that the body over 60 does not need more inputs. It needs fewer obstacles. It needs warmth instead of cold. It needs slow instead of fast. It needs rhythm instead of chaos. It needs the signal that it is safe to repair rather than the constant demand to perform. Health after 60 is not an achievement to reach. It is a relationship to maintain. And the quality of that relationship is determined not by how many things you are doing but by how well you are listening. Dorothy is 64 now. She describes herself as healthier than she was at 50. Not because she found a better supplement or a more efficient workout or a more optimized routine. Because she found a different question. Not what should I add to be healthier, what is my body asking for right now? Start with one habit from this list. Just one. Warm water in the morning. Post-meal walks. Being horizontal before 11. One habit practiced consistently for 2 weeks before you add another. Notice what shifts. Then tell me about it. Drop your age and your state in the comments right now. Tell me which habit you are starting with and what has been your biggest health struggle over the past year. I read every comment and your answers shape what we cover next week. Subscribe now and turn on the notification bell. Because next week we are covering something that every woman and man over 60 who has been told their fatigue and their digestive issues and their sleep problems are simply aging needs to hear before their next appointment. Take care of yourselves. And start listening to the body that has been trying to tell you something for a very long time.